Dear students, this is Dr. Madhu Kamra again from Durga Mahavidyalaya with a video lecture on formalism. This is a request video, a demand, a need raised by one of my subscribers. And before I begin, I extend my greetings and wishes that you all remain safe during COVID times. Now to begin with, what is formalism? Formalism, as the term implies, if you see the etymological meaning of it, if you see how this word is structured, you'll find that it talks about form. So formalism is an interest in analysis of form, which is made up of three elements. Here we talk about the structure of a text, which we have already talked about when I was doing my last video, structuralism. So if you are interested in knowing about what makes the structure of a text, please look into that video. And then it also talks about how a text uses language and what are the different literary devices which are used to produce aesthetic effects. Literary devices, you already know, they are symbols, metaphors, hyperbole, oxymoron, alliteration and such other elements. So this makes formalism treat a work of art as a distinct piece which is free from, again, three elements: the environment, era, and even author. So here you will find that the focus is distinctively on the text as a literary piece. So it tells you what literariness is embedded in a text. So the formalist assumed that the keys to understanding a text rest within the text itself. And therefore, by the study of form, you can realize how do these elements impart the sensation of things as they are perceived and not as they are known. First, see as to how formalism came into existence and when did this movement rise. Formalism started first in Russia in 1910 and then it later spread to all over Europe, particularly to countries like France, Poland and Czechoslovakia. And it also established literature as an artifact of autonomous nature, that is possessing its own laws, and hereby literature was recognized as a unique mode of expression. It was no longer a bundle of philosophy, and now you'll find that it was attributed with insular disposition. That means it was given an autotelic nature, that is having only an artistic purpose. It was recognized as something self-referential, as not a genre or an author's contribution or a particular context, but was written for its own sake. So here you find that literature now has its internal existence. It was regarded to be self-contained and it was independent of author. So no longer a historical, social or psychological documentary was needed. Formalism did not have an easy start. It had a bumpy beginning because there was a lot of opposition by Soviet theorists like Trotsky and Bukharin, and they believed that the formalist approach would narrow the periphery of art and disassociate with the social aspect of it. At the same time, it would also separate evaluation of art with its traditional aspects, and thereby the past of art would be ignored. So you have theorists like Volosinov and Bakhtin, who succeeded to a large extent in establishing some consent between the literary force. So later you will find that formalism emerged as two groups, and these became a part of Russian formalism, which is also called continental formalism. So Russian formalism, you will find it has now two branches. You have Moscow Linguistic Circle, which was led by Roman Jakobson, 1915 onwards, and you have the other, which is led by Shklovsky and Boris Eichenbaum, 1960 onwards, and this is the Society for the Study of Poetic Language, and it is recognized with the help of an acronym, OPOS-JAZ. So let us talk about the mode of formalism, how it is applied and what does it look into. So formalism, you find, puts the focus on text as literature because it invites a close reading of the text and it critically evaluates works using images, symbols and figures of speech, and it believes that a text is self-contained entity because the formalists were interested in what is on the page. So there is a refusal of outside information and only textual details were put to widen scrutiny, resulting in an intense focus of the text. So text, you find, is no longer an expression of social, religious and political ideas. You find that formalism identifies author as a designing intellect, a shaping intellect, an artist who is there to entertain, who is there to give you pleasure, to give you delight and not to mere inform you. And formalism also recognizes consumers of the text as discerning readers because it demands that a reader should be scrupulous in making a scientific investigation of the text which is under study. Therefore, close reading of the text is something which is established by them as a complete justice to what the author has contributed. Now, let us see what are the key ideas of formalism. The first is defamiliarization. Now, linguistic defamiliarization led to perceptual defamiliarization. This is by employing an impressive range of literary devices. Now, I've already told you what are the common literary devices, and the intention of defamiliarization is to make something strange. And Victor Shklovsky is the one who uses this term in the essay Artist Technique in 1917. And it was his intent to use language in a strange way, not in its everyday common parlance, but to give newness and difference. So that when you read a poem, you can easily differentiate it from a newspaper or from a magazine. And the purpose was to undo habitualizations, which is an automatic a process of perception. And this way you find that art makes you experience what is the artfulness of an object. That is, the object is not important. Now, what is important is the perception. And the object of an author is to prolong the length of perception so that feel of strangeness, the contribution of strangeness, the purpose of strangeness can make a text interesting and at the same time could increase its readership and make it stay on shelves for quite a length of time. For example, if you take the reading of the poem Kubla Khan by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, you'll find that it is the dome which is so different. It is not the dome which is made up of marble. It is the dome which is made up of different elements of which you cannot conceive, which you cannot think about, which is so unnatural that the element of defamiliarization comes into play. Now, coming to the next idea, you have literariness. This was established by Roman Jakobson in 1921, and his aim was to distinguish literary art from other kinds of written text like factual writings or memoirs or reports that appears in newspapers. And the main intent of Jakobson was to establish the fact that the objective science of literature is not literature but literariness. So this way you find that this was very unorthodox or unfamiliar or unrecognized mode of approaching and assessing a literary text. Now the same was established and reaffirmed by Boris Eichenbaum, who said that the rejection of already made aesthetics and general theories were essential in order to achieve literariness. And for this, what was needed is a removal of antiquated attitudes and perspectives, and also isolation of literature from secondary incidental features. Now, secondary incidental features are those features which belong not to the periphery of art, but to those of philosophy, psychology, sociology, and they were rather those fields which could amount to more of dullness, and at the same time make literature more of something which is common. And the aim of formalism was to make things strange, unfamiliar. That is why you find that they relied more on the features which could stimulate the perception with delight, and at the same time amount to a different kind of a literary value. So for this, there was a shift of attention on linguistics for independent artistic purposes, and use of language was now not as a means of communication but of independent art. So language was used in a particular kind where you have the dance of speech and not a flat communication or assertion of an idea. So you have an example on your screen where you find that a single noun phrase, my child, when you make it vocative, and if the same is put in literary form, there could be more delight if the same is said as, oh my gem of life. So here you have a different tonal pattern, here you have a different stock of words, and the child is metaphorically stressed with the help of gem. And there is a pleasure of motherhood, and at the same time it also adds a prominence to the place of a child in the web of the life of a mother or maybe both parents. So coming to the reasons what led to the rejection of formalism, you find that there was a rise of reception theory or reader response theory, where you find that the shift was from textual to contextual reading, and once again you find that the outside world came into prominence, and there was also a rejection of an ideal reader, and now the concept was that there are many readers, there's a multiplicity of reading modes, and each interpretation is important, and this established the acceptance of the reader as creator of the text. Thank you so much.